It's kind of crazy how we can make art from so many different things. What does that do for us? Like, how do we even get that in the first place? Like, there's all these questions in terms of how creative we can be as human beings and what art is able to do for us and for other people. Because I know it just helps us express ourselves so much more than we could have ever imagined. And that's what's so special about it. The ability to connect with other people and to have an impact on people's lives. It's just mind-boggling. There's so much power in art. There's so much we can do with it. From the littlest things that you could imagine in art. There's art everywhere. You can eat the art. Clothing. We feel and wear the art. All over the world there's art to be seen that has been there standing for hundreds, thousands of years. We hear the art. There's so many things that art does to fulfill our day-to-day lives. It potentially gives us an explanation on who we are as people. We spend hours, days, months, years perfecting it because it means that much to us, and we know how powerful it is, the impact that it can have on other people. And there's so many different ways people are able to spread their art throughout the world. It truly gives us life and fulfills us to the end in our own different ways. So what happens when it's taken away from us? I had the privilege to watch Kiki's delivery service for the first time last year. I definitely was not expecting anything going into it, as it was my first Studio Ghibli film. And I definitely didn't expect how well they handled such a tough concept. They conquered that task so well that they made Kiki's Delivery Service a timeless film. But I watched it again yesterday because it has been some time and I wanted to really make sure the areas I was going to be talking over were polished. I personally don't believe Miyazaki, the director of this film, holds back at all in Kiki's Delivery Service. He presented it in a way that's like feasible or like digestible, and it's pretty astonishing because these are very sensitive topics. Kiki goes through depression, she has insecurities, she gets burned out. I don't think this film is restricted to only artists, but if you are an artist, I definitely recommend that you watch this film immediately, because some of the stuff in this film definitely hits you in a spot where it's like, oh, hello. And I remember my experiences feeling burned out. Now, when I watched the film for the first time, I wasn't in that space anymore. But when some of this stuff came up in the film, I was like, damn, that hit home. So I'll give you a little gist of the story. Kiki is a young girl who's training to become a witch. She joins this town that, is not really accustomed to or fond of witches, except a rare, exceptional few. Kiki manages to find a job at a bakery, and in return, she'll be able to fly, delivering orders, and she has a place to stay now. And as time moves on, the jobs get a little bit difficult, people are less appreciative and really don't acknowledge Kiki at all. And for the people that actually do acknowledge her, she doesn't have time for them, or giving the effort and then realizing that they actually don't want to spend time with her. And she ends up working so hard that she gets sick. And that really is like the big entry into her depression and self-doubt. She doesn't like really enjoy flying as much, and I think that is really good to say that and emphasize that, because there are artists out today who reciprocate that same feeling. Very subtle, but some of the best moments in this film doesn't even need to have any conversation. The slow eating is just like a perfect representation in itself. But even during this time of blues, Kiki still tries to have fun. She still engages with people, but again, in the blink of an eye, everything just changes. 1 second, she could really be enjoying her time and just appreciating life. And just like that, we're back to the blues. We don't want to hang out with anyone anymore. And that is so true, because it just goes to show that her problems haven't been fully solved. She hasn't gone through that confrontation yet. And at least for me, it's easier to understand why she shuts down so quick, because I sometimes did the exact same thing. And probably one of the most critical points in her depression was when her broom broke, and her trying to fix it, like, oh man, that was a scene. That was a scene to watch. And then like she can't speak to her cat anymore. Like, can she get a break? And that's when Ursula shows up, and she's been in the film before, but she comes around just to say what's up to Kiki, and Kiki spills the beans on how she's been, and Ursula's then like, you know what, we just gotta take your mind off of it. And compared to the other activities Kiki has attempted, this one, you can just feel it be different than the rest. Like, this one doesn't feel fake. Like, this feels good. And I think the biggest part of that is when Ursula mentioned that she has trouble with painting. She had a roadblock with painting, but when she saw Kiki's face, she said, I want to paint. And I think that is a very huge critical moment, because we had a character experiencing the exact same thing Kiki has been going through, and here goes Kiki inspiring someone to get back up and to keep going. And then they're paying that courtesy back to Kiki. Wow.
I'd paint all day until I fell asleep right at my easel. And then one day, for some reason, I just couldn't paint anymore. I tried and tried, but nothing I did seemed any good. I just felt like I'd lost my ability. But then I found the answer. You see, I hadn't figured out what or why I wanted to paint. I had to discover my own style. Trusting your spirit, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That same spirit is what makes me paint and makes your friend bake. But we each need to find our own inspiration, Kiki.
And when the world needed her the most, she showed up. And that's a great thing that Miyazaki did. In the most dire situation of the entire film, that was when Kiki was able to get her flying powers back and help save a close friend. Kiki is a great example of passion, burnout, and the ability to just find a way to come back, all through a much needed break. And that's what we just need sometimes. We just need to take a break. But in those moments when we're all working again, that's when we have to really appreciate what we're doing and what the people around us are doing for us. Because just that one little appreciation post or whatever, just that one little tidbit of appreciation, of affection, can just turn on the jets and keep us going another day. And ultimately, trusting our power. If we trust our power, then it'll trust us back.